So what's happening when we have frequent nightmares that makes a person more at risk for suicide? I've looked into this, and I will say that although the link between nightmares and suicide is well established, what's actually going on with it, how this relates to suicide risk is less well understood. And then treatment is available for nightmares, but how effective it is at reducing suicide risk is still there's still pretty sparse evidence. It's really understudied. But nightmares are associated with all forms of psychiatric illness. So especially post-traumatic stress, there's a very well understood link between post-traumatic stress disorder and nightmares. In fact, nightmares are one of the cardinal symptoms of post-traumatic stress. And about 80% of people with PTSD experience frequent nightmares. And the nightmares that they experience, there's actually two categories of nightmares. One is trauma-related, and the other is what they call idiopathic nightmares, where there isn't a direct link to a specific trauma. And it's the nightmares that have a link to specific trauma that are related to post-traumatic stress and also to suicide risk. Anxiety, depression, dissociative disorders, and psychosis all are linked to frequent nightmares. And so a recent review by Sheaves found that nightmares might be causal versus merely a symptom, especially for anxiety or threat-based disorders. It's not just that when you have a lot of trauma or you have a strong threat response that you're kind of that you live with in your body, that brings on nightmares, but actually that nightmares themselves can also bring a sense of threat. And I think that it's the cause is actually bidirectional. I think they can really kind of affect each other. So more nightmares brings more stress brings more nightmares. And so Sheaves was suggesting there's a network approach to nightmares as part of a feedback loop that worsens mental health in 3 different ways. And so first, nightmares generate anxiety that leads to more nightmares that also affect your mood. If you have a night characterized by lots of bad dreams, it can really affect how you feel the next day, especially if the nightmares are intense enough that the images stay with you. So nightmares can worsen mood. And also the other really important thing is that they disrupt sleep. And we know that there's a strong link between insomnia and suicidal ideation and suicide risk. And nightmares wake you up. That's part of the definition of a nightmare, is that it's an intensely dysphoric dream that is strong enough to wake you up. And if people have frequent nightmares and they're visited by trauma memories, a lot of times it's really not appealing to go back to sleep because they're worried about going back into the dream. And so it can really wreak havoc on sleep. So that's why they're a key target for treatment, because they actually affect the people who suffer from frequent nightmares in 3 ways that make them more at risk for suicide and other mental health issues.